So to try and understand what these sounds were, and maybe what I was been called to do, I started crafting. I started with a basic wah-wah. This is about the 10th one I've made. Now, excuse me, as COVID has taken a huge part of my lung capacity. I've not recovered even after months and months. But this is the sound I kept hearing. This is a putatara. It's a combination of the horn from the islands with a wooden mouthpiece, uniting the forest and the oceans as one. is the male voice. In the female voice. Standing in front of the mirror with my eyes closed, I hear the sound of the surf pounding on the beach. The rhythmic crashing reminds me of the long drive home after her funeral. The miles of seaside roads were paved with a million thoughts, and they all manifested themselves into a journey filled with tears. And when I glanced into the back seat, I can see her cherished lavender gown. I open my eyes. Reflected back at me is what I have become with time. An overweight, middle-aged man, left alone by separation to stare at the coastal walls of my cottage. So secluded it's been weeks since I last saw anyone walking the track that leads up to the lighthouse. I think of the last time I saw her, and I quickly close my eyes again. I swallow hard. I squeeze my eyes tightly, trying to expel a growing feeling of sadness. I will never see her again. I can never hug her that one last time. My throat hardens and my heart aches. I close my eyes even tighter, trying to stop the tears flowing down my face. But then I start to tremble, and my legs weaken, and the half-empty bottle of gin falls from my hands. I have to reach out to steady myself against the wall. Damn it, I curse. And I reluctantly open my eyes again. Mirrored before me is my naked body oozing from my mother's sleeveless gown. The tufts of my greying chest hair sneak from the neckline as it plunges embarrassingly between my man boobs, which have filled the garment's B-cups quite adequately. The wide pleated collar falls over my shoulders, exposing my colourful tattooed arms as they seem to snake downwards towards the tiny waistline that has been stretched to breaking point by my burgeoning skin. I don't care how ridiculous I look, because I feel so close to Mother right now, as if I'm being held by her again, cloaked by her, and she is still with me. I was encouraged by alcohol, and I was filled with enthusiasm when I first lifted the dress over my head. I felt like a caver, spelunking into a silken tunnel of candy floss, set to explore the mysterious realms between man and woman. But then the silk and pink brocaded flowers quarrelled and pleaded as the lavender garden was pushed grotesquely out of shape in a way no weaver of fabric could have ever imagined. The inappropriateness of my proportions had turned the seams running from my armpits to my hips into a mass of tangled threads and fabric, fraying. A long time ago, this gown had been made for the ritual of courting through dance, every stitch meticulously placed to show off the best of a young woman's figure, but definitely not that of a drunken bachelor. I gaze at my monstrous form crushed within the torn and ripped material, and I torment myself with sacraments of sacrilege. And I torment myself with sentiments of sacrilege. With strained steps, I walk outside to sit where I can see the ocean, and then from the tin hidden between the cushions on the old sofa, I pull out a little pipe and a bag of weed. Lighting it, I inhale deeply. It takes a second puff before I start to relax, and now the marijuana starts to mix with the alcohol, and my thoughts flood back to a time long ago, to a house, a boy and his mother. This isn't the first time I've seen the gown. I was 12 when I first saw it neatly hanging in the plastic bag at the back of Mother's wardrobe. I was surrounded by dozens of cardboard boxes that were filled with zips and colourful buttons. Back then it easily fitted when it slipped on, and the silky lining chilled me as it slid over my then hairless torso. There was something very special about this dress, and some reason Mother had kept it all these years. But now, I'd never know why. And truthfully, at that moment, it didn't matter. I just enjoyed the way it felt on my skin. Before she had sacrificed her figure to 5 children, Mother had worked as a dressmaker in a small boutique making wedding gowns for the voguish elite of the 1950s. It was at a time when girls wore garments they'd made themselves and went to churches to dance and fall in love. During the 60s and 70s, Mother had worked from home making garments for clients on our cork-tiled floor. With patterns of stiff brown paper pinned to her fabric, she spent late nights with her face mirrored in the shiny chrome-plated scissors that had only ever touched material. Then, hours hand-stitching cotton thread into a myriad of tiny holes which were formed by the needles she pushed through with her engraved silver thimble. As a child, the rite of passage was the wearing of these garments, all porcupined with pins, as Mother hemmed and tucked and gathered and pleated. We stood still, monumentally still, like a dressmaker's mannequin, only ever turning on request. And in those moments, I felt so close to her, so totally secure and truly wanted. I'm abruptly woken from an intoxicated haze. It's by the sound of what sounds like a child crying. I slowly start to take in my surroundings again, and I remember Mother's dress. I shake my head in remorse. But then I hear the child call out again. This time it's more strained, it's even more urgent, and it seems to be repeating a single word I can't quite make out. And now I realise the sound is coming from the cliffs beyond the lighthouse. And I jump to my feet in the fear that some kid is lost alone and up on that dangerous track. And as I do, a spring protruding from the old couch grabs the precious material and tries to wrestle it from my body. Twisting, I hear a sickening, ripping sound, and I look down in panic at my now exposed hindquarters. The lower half of the dress is flapping like a flag flying at half-mast, but not to honour any fallen soldier, just that of a fallen memory. Christ, Mother's not going to be happy. The thought slaps me in the face as I remember she's gone, and I step back and I tumble off the deck, falling hard onto the dirt path and cracking my head on the rocks. As I try to stand, I must resemble a drunken Quasimodo, eyes rolling and my back hunched, with a ringing in my ears that's even louder than the bells of Notre Dame themselves. When I finally make it to my feet with the help of the veranda post, and once again I'm very aware of the condition of the dress. But before I have time to berate myself, the sound of the child calls out again. And I turn and I start to run up the track. With every step, the stones cut at my bare feet, making my body twist and turn, and ever more loosening the dwindling hold I have upon this dress. My intoxication and the gusting breeze do nothing to aid my stability as I stumble up the precarious path so close to the cliff's edge, where the beaten cotoneasters are kept small by woody by years of feeding sheep, hinder my climb, tripping me and tearing at the fraying fabric. Then finally, the plateau of sunburnt grass opens up before me. Light-headed from my rapid descent, I drop to the ground. I look up and I see black-backed gulls conducting aerial battles with one another. They rocket over the cliff tops. They fly skyward. Then they twist around the flaking paint of the neglected lighthouse. This time I hear the word wailed by the unseen child. It screams, "Mother!" My instincts explode as if I'd been flung into the air by some unseen force, and like a bolting thoroughbred, I sprint towards the sound. But my sudden burst of energy exerts deadly pressure on what still holds the dress to my body. It's then, as I run, I realise the real danger is right in front of me. I pirouette, I bounce, I roll to a halt, stopping less than a metre from the edge. And although I've skidded to a halt, Mother's gown keeps moving, as if thrown from my body and propelled into the turbulent air in front of me. It seems to float just out of reach above the ocean. Stunned, I stand naked and alone on the cliff top, and I watch the dress as it dances, ghost-like, hovering in mid-air, before dropping into the ocean. And then it's gone. I collapse on the grass and I weep. I cradle my head in my hands and I lament my loss. I feel separated and completely abandoned. And then regrettably, I'm forced to accept that Mother is also gone. I close my eyes. I hear the sound of the surf pounding on the beach, and I think of her. But this time, I start to smile. For some reason I feel free, even reborn. As if delivered from the pain that has been consuming me for all this time. I open my eyes, and once again I look at the gulls, and then I start to laugh as I watch them rocket over the cliff tops, fly skyward, twist around the flaking plate of the neglected lighthouse, and now I hear them clearly calling out to me in what sounds like mother, 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 mother. Thank you.